Hello, everybody, and welcome to this SiteGround webinar. My name is Elena, and I'm part of SiteGround's marketing team. It's great to see so many people with us today. This webinar is the first one actually in a series of webinars about e-commerce. It will be led by Cal Evans, who is one of the most popular and well-known PHP expert. He's very active in the WordPress community as well. He's a speaker, a blogger, an author, and we're also very happy to have him as an ambassador of SiteGround. Cal has prepared a very interesting and helpful presentations for you, so enjoy it, and don't miss to add your questions in the Ask a Question tab below. Cal, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Okay, let's share my screen to get us going, shall we? Share that. We're going to swap back and forth a couple times, but that is there. Let's go. Okay. Hi, everybody. Greetings from West Palm Beach, Florida. It is so far a beautiful day, although in Florida that could change moment by moment. But right now it's a beautiful day here. I hope it is a beautiful day there. I've seen people from here in the U.S. I've seen Australia. Hey, so glad y'all could join us. I know that it is late. Thank you so much. If you have to drop out, that's fine. They're recording this. They will give it to give you a link to it later. But greetings, everybody. I'm so glad that this one is so well attended. I'm really excited about this. This is at least a three-part series. Then we might add some more on. And I'm gonna spoil it and say and let people know that the research behind this webinar is all going into a book or a project. This one's not actually a book, it's more of a project that SiteGround is publishing called eCom 101. And you'll have to talk to Ellen to get your copy of that. It's not published. It won't be till early next year. But if you talk to them, they can put you on a mailing list or something like that. Because if this is interesting to you, you're going to love that. We've got a lot of chapters about all of this e-commerce stuff. We've got checklists for you. We've got glossaries of terms so that nobody's left out. So without any further ado, let's dive right in, shall we? Getting started in e-commerce. Like I said, this is the first in a three-part or a multi-part series. Now, today, we're literally going to set up an e-commerce shop, a live website that once I'm finished, you can go. You won't be able to purchase anything because this is not real. It's just for fun, but I'm going to show you exactly how easy it is to get it set up and to get a product in there, and to the point where we could actually, if I hooked it up to Stripe or PayPal and manufactured a product, we could actually sell this. That's how, it's gotten so easy these days. Way back in the day when I first started this, it was much more difficult. I love saying this, back around the turn of the century, back in 98, 99, I was managing a e-commerce shop for my parents' company, and we had 17,000 products in the database, and managing it was just a nightmare. These days, it is so much easier. But before we do all of that, let's start at the beginning. The core of any good e-commerce site is a product. And I know you're thinking, well, of course it is, but so many people think, I'm going to get started in e-commerce. Okay, what are you going to sell? Don't know yet, but I know I'm going to need a website. No, you've got it all backwards. And in eCom 101, I spend an entire chapter talking about the fact that you've got to brainstorm your idea. You've got to figure out what you want to sell, and you got to make sure that you can actually sell it. Okay, that somebody else wants to buy it, not that you just want to, it's something that you want to sell. I'll give you an example. Way back in the day when the Vogue thing was for AOL to send out CD-ROMs with all their software on it, and you could connect to AOL or whatever with the CD, I started collecting those. And about 10 years later, I put up an Etsy shop, and it lived maybe 2 months, but I put up an Etsy shop where I them as retro coasters. I thought they were cool. Turns out I didn't do any market research, and nobody wanted old CD-ROMs as their coasters. Now, for the longest time, that was the only coasters we had here in the house because I made up a bunch of these. But if you haven't done so already, go ahead and figure out, spend quality time. And I'm talking, if you spend a month figuring out what you want to sell and exactly refining the idea, that's not too much time. Do some market research. Once you've got it, the first step is to register a domain. I had an idea the other day, and I tweeted out on my Twitter account, another day, another idea, another domain purchased. And I have a bunch of them, and I've learned the trick for serial idea people like me is you never put them on auto renew, okay? Because a year later, it's just gonna auto renew, and if it's not something I've worked on, I don't want it. So I always turn them off auto renew, and in a year, if I've not worked on it, it's gonna go away. But register your domain, and even though we're not going to talk about it today, go ahead and get your social media accounts registered. Don't do anything with them. Just register them, get them so that you know that you've got them and somebody else is not going to come in, see your idea, and snake them away from you. Okay? Now, next month, we will be talking about social media and earned media versus, or earned attention versus purchased attention, how to use social media properly, all kind of fun stuff like that. Now, regardless of what platform you choose, and we're going to talk a little bit about platforms in a minute. Somebody was asking about that in the questions, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. But regardless of the platform that you use, you're going to need a payment processor. Because the greatest idea in the world, if you can't take money for it, then you're just giving stuff away. And maybe that's what you want to do. If so, wonderful. You don't need a payment processor. For the rest of us, I mean, I don't want your money, but you know, the people that own this house and I have to pay every month, they want your money. For the rest of us, we got to have a way to process payments. Now, there's a couple ways you can do that. Okay, there's PayPal, there's Stripe. Square has is a possibility, and also there's a lot of local and regional choices. Okay, those are PayPal and Stripe are the most popular here in the United States, but I know different countries have different favorite payment processors. Do some research if you're not here in the U.S. Find out what everybody else is using. That's always a good indicator that that's probably the one you should use. Now, I will say one word for those of us here in the U.S. with PayPal. Unlike the other payment processors, PayPal is not a bank. PayPal does not have to play by the same rules as banks. I have seen PayPal just freeze people's account because they didn't like what they were doing. Okay, and I don't want to be beholden to anybody and somebody having to like what I'm doing in order for me to get my money. Most payment processors do or have to abide by rules. Stripe or PayPal does not. So be careful with them. I'm not saying don't use PayPal. I'm not saying that they're not a good choice. They are a great choice for certain types of stores, but just be careful. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. My personal favorite is Stripe. That's what I use on all my systems and take payments from them. They have a good low interest rate and transaction rate. And for a developer, they were built by developers for developers, and it's just very easy to get set up and running. So PayPal, Stripe, Square, and then make sure you research your local and regional choices. Okay, next slide. There we go. Now let's plan your website, because we're going to talk about e-commerce, but what else are you going to do on your website? I would suggest that you go old school. This is how we used to tell people to do this back in the day. Get a stack of 3x5 cards and a pencil. Okay, and if you've got a cork board, that makes it even easier, but you can tape stuff up on the wall with painter's tape and be able to pull it back off. But start outlining your site. Okay, your home page is going to have be the main card, but then each page off of your home page, write down the title of the page and what you want to accomplish with that. And then if that goes somewhere else, then take a string or tape a string on there and go and put up another card and figure out the paths to your site and the parts to your site. Now, when I've had a couple of homes built for me over the years, I have never yet had my general contractor walk up, clear a piece of land, and then say, hey, Let's put a kitchen there and then build the kitchen. And then go, if we got a kitchen, we're going to probably need a bathroom. So let's put a bathroom over there and then go build a bathroom. And, we got to have bedrooms. And that's not the way houses are built. Okay. Long before they move the first twig on that piece of land, they've got a complete plan. They know everything that's going to go in that house. They're ordering parts. They're ordering lumber. They're getting all of that done. We should do that with our websites. Websites should not be, I'm going to put up an e-commerce site and the next week, a blog would be cool and, a photo gallery. So plan out your website. Now, in today's webinar, we're going to be talking about WooCommerce and WordPress, okay? Word and Woo. And I love this platform for building e-commerce. Now, the mechanics that I'm going to show you, the actual buttons that I press, those are specific to WordPress and WooCommerce. But the concepts that we're going to discuss, they're useful no matter what platform you're using. So if you're not planning on using Word and Woo, you can still get something out of this, because I'm really more interested in you understanding the concepts behind this than getting I need to push this button to make this happen. There are a lot of store builders out there. It's gotten incredibly easy to build an e-commerce store these days. And I'll show you how easy in just a little bit. But most of these stores come with a hidden feature that nobody really talks about, and that's called vendor lock-in. If you build your e-commerce store using proprietary software, you are building on rented land. It's just like if you had a regular store and you built the store, but you didn't own the land underneath it. You're building on rented land and you're beholden to that landowner at that point. And if you get incredibly successful on one of these platforms, don't be surprised if they change your deal and they say, hey, we're going to want a little more of what you're making there, okay? And your only choice at that point is either to pay up or to start over with something else and hope that that landlord is a little more reasonable. WordPress and WooCommerce do not come with vendor lock-in because they're open source, okay? There are more places to host WooCommerce and WordPress than you can count. Now, I've looked at most of them out there, most of the big players out there, and I'm not going to name any names, but most of the big players that you can think about, I've either had sites hosted on or I've signed up for their free account and kicked the tires on there. And I can tell you that as a developer, I feel more comfortable with SiteGround as my hosting partner than any of the other ones out there. But it doesn't matter who you choose, as long as you've got a good, solid platform. If you're building with WooCommerce and WordPress, it's open source. You can move this to whomever, okay? If you start somewhere else and decide that they're not the partner you thought of, then you can move them to SiteGround. Matter of fact, SiteGround even makes a migrator to make that incredibly easy, but you can move them over. Make sure that you have chosen a trusted hosting partner, but choose the platform that you build on wisely. My stores, two of my WordPress shops are e-commerce shops. Both of them are using WooCommerce, and that's because according to the license around both of those, that can never be taken away from me. Now, they could change the license tomorrow and future versions I wouldn't have access to, but nobody can take my store away from me as it is right now. It doesn't matter if they like what I'm doing or don't like what I'm doing. They can't stop me from doing it. And that's the beauty of open source, is you're no longer building on rented land. You own this. I would suggest before you just blindly say, hey, yes, WordPress and WooCommerce, take a look around, look at some other ones. There's another good open source one called Magento. Now, Adobe owns Magento, and their enterprise stuff is not open source, but their core platform is still open source. And Magento is geared to much larger organizations. You're going to need a team, and you're going to need a Magento deployment team just to get that running. Most people these days do not just fire up Magento like we're going to fire up WordPress and WooCommerce. But it is out there, it is free, and you could use that just as easily. Okay. Now, what else are you going to have on your website? Are you going to have a blog? I'm currently working with a friend of mine, and she's got a store that's a physical store, and they've built their entire e-commerce platform on one of these e-commerce store builders, which means they're beholding. They can't get out of that situation easily. But she really wants a blog to let her employees start talking about all the cool stuff that they're doing. And I said, okay, well, we can set up WordPress over on the side. We can do some integration, but not a lot. Had she thought it out and worked with me, I could have steered her to WordPress to begin with, because yes, we can do WooCommerce. That can be the main focus. Blog can be the secondary focus, but we can still integrate everything and have it integrated all together. Now, are your customers visually oriented, or does your product lend itself to visual imagery? If so, you really want to put a photo gallery up there. People love pictures. People especially love pictures of themselves. I used to run a website a long time ago. This was before WordPress. It was right as WordPress was coming online. So they didn't have any good photo galleries or anything like that. This was 2003 through 2007. I ran a site called marchingeagles.com. I'm a band dad, or I'm an ex-band dad. And it was my job to take pictures of all the kids. Every time we would go out in competition, I would shoot probably 500-600. We had about 100 in the band. I'd shoot 500-600 pictures. We would pick the best ones. We'd try to make sure every kid got a picture at every event, and we'd post them up on Marching Eagles. Not because the kids loved it, but the grandparents loved it. Most of the kids' grandparents did not live local to them. The grandparents could log in to marchingeagles.com and see pictures of their grandkids. People love pictures, especially pictures relevant to them. So if you've got a product that people will send in pictures of it, and Coke did this a few years ago, send in a picture of you enjoying a Coke, that kind of stuff, and they'd host it on their social media. People love that kind of stuff. So that's a great thing to do. And that is, again, part of that earned attention. That's one way you can build traffic to your site. I'm not going to talk about SEO. I'm not a big fan of SEO. I do not write anything for search engines. I write everything for my customers. And if the search engines find it interesting, that's fine. But I've never had a search engine buy anything from me, okay? People buy stuff from me. So I write my blog posts for my customers, but they love those pictures, and the search engine loves to pick them up. And that's a great way to get your product out there, is to have a photo gallery. So to wrap this whole section up, plan out your website. Before you start building, have a plan. Plan out the sections you want in your website. Plan out what's going to go in each section. And this is really important. I did a whole episode on the podcast recently about this. Plan out who is responsible for maintaining each section. Somebody needs to be in charge of making sure that you have a new blog post every week, month, whatever. But also that make sure that if a blog post is out of date, if you blog about your current product and a new version comes out that has new features, that old blog post needs to go away or be marked as archived, so that people don't pay attention to that. They pay attention to the new one. Assign that role to somebody. Somebody needs to be in charge of maintenance for each section. By the way, I'm not ignoring the comments over there. I just can't pay attention to that and do all the other stuff. So if you're asking questions, if you've got a specific question, please use the ask a question, because if we've got time, I'm going to go through there and answer a couple of them. Okay, so let's share. Where's my options? Nope. I do that. Okay, let's share a new screen. Let's move this over here. We're going to share just a whole screen. Okay, let's move my notes. Y'all didn't think I did this, without notes, did you? Okay, click here. There we go. This is your SiteGround control panel. And I'm going to walk you through setting up a new website. Now let's try this. I'm going to try this with an existing domain. Let's see if this works. No. Let's see if that works. If that doesn't work, we will go back to plan B. Nope, can't do that. Okay. So I'll go back and we're just going to use a temporary domain. Not going to be a problem. And this domain, Fatbeard Pirate Coffee. Fatbeard is my Renaissance Fair persona. For those who don't know what Renaissance Fairs is, it's a very geeky thing. I dress up as a mid-16th century pirate, and my wife goes as my pirate wench, and we basically wander around and eat the whole time and greet other people that are dressed equally silly. But it's a pirate. And so I have registered a domain, but I've obviously messed something up, called Fatbeard Pirate Coffee, because my idea, and I brainstormed this for a long time, my idea is alcohol-infused coffee or alcohol-flavored coffee. Now, this is not an alcoholic drink, but I have a process that I am perfecting where, because I'm actually playing with this idea, a process where I infuse roasted coffee beans with an alcohol flavoring. And so far I've done whiskey and rum. I'm going to try gin. I don't have a whole lot of hope for gin. Vodka would make absolutely no sense because it has no taste. But so far my favorite is rum. And I have infused a nice Colombian with Mount Gay rum because Mount Gay is an aged rum, but not a spiced rum. And it tastes absolutely wonderful. While I'm telling you this, okay, we're going to start a new website. We're not going to migrate, although we could transfer an existing site. If you were moving your site to SiteGround, that's what you would check. But we're going to start a new one. And we're going to say WooCommerce. And I'm going to set this up. Okay. And no, I don't need the site scanner. Okay, so like I said, I've been experimenting with several different ones. I've also tried whiskey, and whiskey has a beautiful, or at least the whiskey that I'm using, has a beautiful oaky, or leaves a beautiful oaky aftertaste to the coffee. I will say this, it's not as good hot. I mean, I'm usually just a hot coffee drinker, but I've made cold versions or cold drinks from these that I have done so far, and the cold ones are much better than the hot ones. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Now we're going to manage the site. We have the site set up and running now. Okay. But before we go into it, let's do one thing. Let's go over here to security, SSL manager, and let's get us an SSL certificate. Now we're going to get a Let's Encrypt. If you don't know what a Let's Encrypt certificate is, or if you don't know what your options are, if you go to geektoenglishpodcast.com, the very first episode was all on secure certificates, which one, what the difference are between them and which one's right for you. And the answer to that last question is, it depends. Too much rum gets you pixelated. That's a good one. Okay, this is going to take a second because it's actually making a call out to let'sencrypt.com and or .org and building a certificate. If you're not familiar with Let's Encrypt, they're free SSL certificates. They are great. I have them on all of mine. And again, in the podcast, I talk about the decisions you need to make as to which one is the best one for you. But for my purposes, the Let's Encrypt are absolutely fine. You got to understand, most of my stuff I sell to developers. Most developers are going to understand what a Let's Encrypt certificate is, and they're going to pick that up. And they're not going to have any problem with that. But there are some differences. You might want to check out the different types of SSL certificates. Oh, thank you, SiteGround, for posting that. Yes, Geek to English podcast. Yes, this is going to be, Ruth, this is going to be me talking about how to build a site. We're going to use Woo, but the concepts are going to be applicable to anything that you, any site that you're building. And the next one is all on social media. Again, we're going to be talking about some plugins we can use, but the concepts are, wow, okay. It did not give us that. That's the first time. I've run this demo probably 10, 15 times, and that's the first time it's done this. Okay, we're going to try one more time. Please maximize your screen. I can try that. Does that help? Sorry about that. This is just the SiteGround, and it could be that there's just something going on and we're not able to do this. If it doesn't work this time, then we will proceed without it. But this is an important step, and I do this the very first time because I want to go ahead and get it in there. If this works, then we'll also go over here to HTTP enforce, and that will force WordPress to use the secure certificate so that the regular the regular URLs will automatically forward over. Okay, it doesn't look like this is going to work. So we're going to go back. And no, that's it right there. Okay. We're going to do this. Since we're not actually going to be using money, we're going to go ahead and do this just as normal, or just without security. Okay. I do not recommend for anybody. Uh-oh. Now this is weird because literally I have run this demo. Host.com, WP admin. Okay, let me tell you what we're going to do. Give me just 1 second, and while we're waiting on this, I will pick the next question off the list and answer it. So it's a good time to get those questions in. Okay, we're going to delete that one. I love that I can do this all right here. Okay, we're going to use the temporary domain. Continue. Start a new website. WooCommerce. Continue. And finish. Okay. Should take a couple minutes. Let's see. What do we have? Audrey Russell, when setting up a store and taxes are to be taken out, are those taxes automatically paid to the state for me, or do I have to do that? You probably have to do that yourself. Taxes in WooCommerce, at least, taxes are computed and added into the price, but they're not taken out and paid to the state for you, okay? You're getting the money for the taxes. It is your responsibility to pay it to the appropriate authorities. Claire, I'm going to talk a little bit about taxes because I use Jetpack to calculate that kind of stuff. I think they do taxes. WooCommerce has other plugins. No, I think Jetpack does shipping. WooCommerce has other packages that you can purchase, other plugins that you can purchase that will help you with that. And what to use from dropshipping from China. Shipping is a whole nother issue. So I'm going to pause on that one for the moment because shipping might actually be a whole nother podcast. I got a friend of mine who that's what her company does, is take care of calculating shipping and get everything ready for you. And we might just do that separately. Okay, I'm going to go manage my site. And I'm going to go to security. Script. I'm going to spin that up while I talk about the next one. Okay, James, I think I answered this in the or before the show. I already run a current WordPress site and use WooCommerce as my e-commerce solution. I have a quite large monthly volume with this site. We will be discussing that platform solution during the webinar. Yes, we will. and if not, what other platforms we'll be discussing? No, this is the platform that I'm using to demonstrate the concepts. Although, like I said, there are other good ones out there, including Magento. But again, Magento is large scale. You're not going to get into Magento as easy as I'm going to show you right here. Okay. You're considering using an alternative. I'd be interested to know what alternative that you're considering, and not because I think that's a dumb idea or I am going to try to talk you out of it. I'd just be interested in knowing what you're going to be trying to be using. Okay, no domains can be authorized. Okay, well, then we're not going to do that, but we should still have. Okay, now at least we've got WordPress. So let's WP admin. And we're not secure, but for the purposes of this webinar, I actually turned off my key manager because I have a password manager that handles all this for me. Okay, welcome. Now, let's use the SiteGround WordPress starter to get us up and running. Okay, these are the templates. We need a template for our site. Now, I've looked at several of these. I choose this one called Storefront because it is WooCommerce enabled, and it gets me down the road. I'm not going to use the look and feel, but I like the features that are available. So I'm going to confirm that. Now, I'm also going to want Jetpack. I don't need maps because I don't have a local shop. If you have a local shop, you might want to consider that. I also am not ready for gallery. I have exactly one picture of my one product, so I'm not ready for a gallery. And I don't need a calendar to make because I don't have any events right now. So I'm not going to select any of those. But SiteGround's nice enough to go ahead and install these other ones for me. I do want Google Analytics, and everybody, even though I don't preach SEO much, everybody should always have Yoast SEO installed. And when it flags you and says, hey, you need to look at this, you should pay attention to it, okay? Because that is the bare minimum you can do to get SEO. We're not going to talk about mailing lists, although in October, I have a special guest who's going to come to talk to us. She's a mailing list expert. Next month, I'm going to talk about social media, which is basically just building your mailing list. She's going to talk to us about what to do with our mailing list and how to increase subscribership. Okay, now don't close that page. It's going to keep building. Can e-commerce work with books published by online publishers? I actually use that, yes. One of my sites actually has WooCommerce running, and I publish my books there and on Amazon. Now, I've just started looking, and it looks like WooCommerce will now actually manage that for you, okay? It's a paid plugin you have to add on. Matter of fact, I think we'll see an advertisement for it here in a little bit, but it is an option. I use leanpub.com to publish all my ebooks, and Leanpub will give me a zip file with the contents of the most recent edition of my book, and I take that zip file and make it a WooCommerce downloadable product, and it's pretty easy. Okay, my site is ready. Let's go to the dashboard. But that's what I do because I'm also an author. Okay. What do we got here? Okay, let's, first of all, let's configure Jetpack. Okay, now we need to set up Jetpack, and I'll warn you, I have pre-logged in to WordPress.com to set up Jetpack, and there's only one reason I set up Jetpack, and that's to manage the, I think it's the shipping that Jetpack manages in WooCommerce, but I set that up to handle that, and that's the only reason. I don't use anything else in Jetpack. Not that I'm against Jetpack. I have no real big use for it. Oh, thank you. WordPress. There we go. Connecting is Cal Evans. Let's close the questions and answers for now. Can I use WooCommerce on my current site? Marianne, yes, while I'm waiting for this, hopefully this is going to come back up. Yes, you can add WooCommerce as an add-on. If your site's already WordPress, then you can add WooCommerce in and get it up and running. I'm setting up a brand new one, but you don't have to do it that way. Okay, Jetpack. You can go for any of these solutions. I am cheap. I'm going to start with free and continue. And then I'm going to go back because that's all I really need to do with Jetpack. Okay, that's our site, by the way. That's what we're building right there. Dashboard. Okay, we got a bunch of things that we can do, but where is... I'm not going to set up analytics or anything today, although they're very easy to set up, and Monster Google Analytics will walk you through doing that. The Monster series of plugins are wonderful plugins. There's only a handful of plugins I pay for. The Monster ones are one of that. Okay, so first thing let's do is let's go over to themes. Customize. Okay. Yeah. I don't want this good. And beard pirate coffee. I use that on all of my sites until I know what the tagline is going to be, just because I don't have a tagline for this particular one. Okay, and no, skip the tour. The header, no. Tell you what, we've changed that. Let's now drop into Gutenberg. So everybody loves Gutenberg, right? Let's edit this page. Faith, this is just one of the default themes that when you set up a store, it comes with. I'll look and see if I can find the name of it. Okay. I want to replace the image. And I'm going to have to upload that. Let's upload that. And it should replace it for us in just a minute. There we go. And now this is the fun part. Gutenberg is still a work in progress. I can go over here and change the typography and change the color setting. It doesn't really change. What I have to go here is text color. Here, let's change that to white. And I'm not going to use that. A lot of working with this theme is deleting stuff because it's not a bad theme. It's just it has a lot of stuff that I don't particularly want. So let's, nope. Didn't want to add. I want to delete. We're going to delete all of, oh no, let's leave that. Let's leave shop by category. It's our products. We're going to leave that one, but this one, all the rest of these, we're going to get rid of. Now, I will say, as much as I rag on Gutenberg, and I've been known to rag mercilessly on Gutenberg, for this kind of stuff, it is just absolutely phenomenal. Let's get rid of these. I'm still old school. I'm still one of the ones that installs the classic editor plugin. Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm the reason that plugin still exists, and do all of my editing in that. Although recently I have found a good use for Gutenberg, and that's the slides that you see. You saw when Mullenweg announced Gutenberg, he did his slides in it, and that plugin is actually very cool. Okay, we're going to change that to products. Okay. Now, let's update our page. Let's see what it looks like. Hey, Fatbeard's Pirate Coffee. Okay. So we've got our basics already up and running. Okay. Back in the day, this would have taken us a month or two just to get to this point. And we've done this in probably 15 minutes with me having to swap out a couple times because things weren't working. So let's do what we were here to do. Well, first of all, we need to configure a couple things in WooCommerce, okay? Our products, it knows, or it doesn't know that I'm in the US, so we need to set it to US dollars because I want all my stuff coming in United States dollars. Currency, it picks up the rest of those just fine. Let's save those. Nope. Yeah. Since I'm using imperial, we're going to be pounds and we're going to be inches. And shipping. Now, this is the part, this is the fun part. And originally in this demo, I was going to add several shipping zones in. I'm not going to do that because we're going a little long. But basically, to describe how this works, it works in shipping zones. And these are concentric circles going out. So I could set a local zone that is my zip code here in the US, in Florida, and say, if you're in this zip code, you don't have to pay any shipping. Just come by my house and pick it up. Okay. If you're in Florida, however, I'll ship it to you, but it's only going to cost you $2.50 for me to ship you a jar of Fatbeard's Pirate Coffee to your house here in Florida. If you're in the US, it's going to cost $5 because that's a little bit more. And then there's a catch-all that's and everybody else, and I'd set that at something like $15. Okay, because if I've got to ship international, then there's a lot more that's got to go into it. You can also, I could set up for my friends in the UK, I could set up a special one for them. You know, if I decide to do Fatbeard's Pirate Tea and rum infused tea, then I could have a special shipping just for them and set that up. This is not terribly difficult to set up. Last time I ran it to set up 5 zones, it took me about 5 minutes. It's not difficult. It walks you through all of it and is very easy to understand. We do need to set up our payments. And I'm only going to take cash and checks. Okay, I'm not going to take, normally I turn on PayPal at this point, and if we're doing this for real, I turn on PayPal. But number one, I don't want anybody mistaking this for a real site and trying to buy stuff because I don't have any rum-infused coffee to sell. I'm drinking all that I can make right now. But on the other thing is, every time I do that, when you try to turn on PayPal, it's very serious. I have to log into PayPal. I have to do all this authorization stuff. I don't want to do that and broadcast it over. But I do want to turn on, I want to have some way to at least take payments. So if you can get here to my house, then I'm happy to share a cup with you and take a direct payment. Other than that, you're out of luck right now. Okay, now for the fun part, let's add ourselves in a product. First thing we got to do is delete all the products that they put in here in the sample theme. This is a great theme. It comes with everything set up, but I don't need any of that. So there we go. Okay, let's add us a new product. Okay, this one's gonna be rum infused coffee. I'm gonna leave that blank. For SEO purposes, my keyword is rum. Now, I'm gonna want to change this, so it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's close enough. Okay. Now let's set up the the actual product. Now, this is not virtual and it's not downloadable, but it is a simple product. So there's no need in getting too complex with this. The regular price of this is $30 a jar. Since this is an alcohol-infused product, we're selling it in mason jars because, moonshine used to come in mason jars. By the way, there is actually no alcohol content in Fat Beard's Pirate Coffee. Okay, so inventory. I want WooCommerce to manage my inventory for me. And I do want to allow back orders, but we'll tell the customer, okay? And we don't have to notify, or we don't have to buy just one of these at a time. Now, here's where we put our product description. So, started to make a Juan Valdez joke here, but most of y'all probably are not old enough to understand that joke. But back when I was a youngster, Colombian Coffee used to run ads, and Juan Valdez was their spokesman. So anyhow, starts with rich Colombian coffee and infuses a complex rum, wonderful drink you can enjoy all day long. So that's enough to get us going. Now, shipping. Okay. This weighs 1 pound. Oop, where'd it go? I did not mean to get rid of that. Nope. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. We will come back to that in just a second. Because I still got to add my edit. When all else fails, just open it back up. There we go. Okay. Shipping. Dimension is 2 by 2 by 1. Inventory. Since I told it that I'm allowing back orders, I got 10 jars of this on hand, okay, theoretically. And then for our product gallery, we want to add a picture of this. And I got me a picture that I'm going to add. Eventually, I'll delete all of those other ones. That WordPress finished running that. Okay. Let's add it to our gallery. There we have it. Okay. I want to categorize this coffee. But since I'm going to have multiple coffees out there, I'm going to say rum coffee. So we're building our taxonomy here. Eventually, I will have whiskey and possibly gin. Although, again, I'm not sure of the combination of botanicals and the coffee flavor. I'm not sure how that's going to taste. So looks like everything is good to go. Let's publish this bad boy. Okay. Now let's look at our homepage. Why didn't it pick up the picture? It's supposed to pick up that picture. Did I not do that? Oh, no, I didn't want to edit that. Go back to products, all products. It wouldn't be a true demo if something didn't go wrong. So notice it tells me there's in stock and tells me how many of them. There are 10. Oh, I set the product gallery. Let's set the product image. There we go. Set the product image. There we go. That's what I wanted. Fat Beard's Pirate Coffee, the only coffee that comes in a mason jar. Okay, there we go. We're now done. I can now add this to a cart. I can view my cart. Tells me add to cart. I can view my cart if I click right. That's not my cart. Why is it not viewing my cart? There we go. Okay. Since I've added 2 in there, it's going to say 2, but I really only want 1. And at this point, I could proceed to checkout. I could also create coupons that I hand out to people, either a specific discount or a discount percent, or I could set up a price coupon. Like this particular product is $15 with this coupon instead of $30. So you have that option. That all comes free with the basics of WooCommerce. There are a lot of other things that WooCommerce will do. Matter of fact, it keeps telling me I need to finish setting up. Let's see if the wizard will let us. Nope. It's not going to tell us this time. Okay. One other thing I do need to do is, for security reasons, I need to go and look at, oh, there it is. Okay. I need to look at what's installed. I need to understand what's installed on my site. I installed this. You want SG Optimizer. That makes your site a whole lot faster. There's your basic WooCommerce. The WordPress importer, I'm not actually going to use that. I'm not importing anything into WordPress. And the same thing goes with the WordPress starter. That's a great plugin to get you started. But once you're done, you don't need that hanging around. So I'm going to deactivate both of those. I'm going to select them. I'm going to say delete and apply. Okay. You don't want plugins that you're not using hanging around, okay? Yes, the plugins have been deactivated, but behind the scenes, PHP is still pulling all that code in. And if there's a security vulnerability and it is of the right type, it can still be accessed. Any plugin that you're not using and you don't plan on using, don't just deactivate it. Go ahead and delete it. Get it out of your site. Theoretically, it will make your site just a tiny bit faster, but more importantly, it will be more secure. That's about it. We got about 10 minutes. Let me go back over. Oh, no, I don't want to drag that over there because y'all can see that. Questions. Oh, wow. We got a lot of questions. We will not be able to get any or get all of these questions, but the ones that I don't get to are added to a document, and I write blog posts on the ones that I think are going to be applicable to the most people. Okay, let's see. How do you select a payment provider? That really depends on your region. I can talk about here in the US. Here in the US, Stripe gives me the best combination of features and price. They used to be the absolute cheapest one you could get, okay? PayPal is by far the best choice because eBay owns them, or they own eBay. So it really depends on your situation and your region. Look at other sites that are running in your region or running in regions that you plan to market to, and see what the best payment processors are for those regions. And when I say regions, I mean geographical. Different countries have different payment processors. And you want to have the payment processors that are used by the majority of your customers. WooCommerce has a bunch of different extensions and plugins. Stripe and PayPal are the 2 free ones, but they have a bunch of different ones that you can get, and they're usually like $10, $15 a piece. They're not really expensive, that will integrate almost any payment processor that you can think of into your site. Oh, good question. When you have a WooCommerce site, how do you handle reporting? WooCommerce has some basic reporting built into it. We don't have any sales, so I can't show you any. The fun one is right here on the homepage. It should tell us, should give us an overview. Oh yeah, right down there. Gives us an overview of the last month. Okay, the number of orders on hold, the number of products that we have low stock, and the number of products that are out of stock. That's just your dashboard. Okay, it does have some basic reporting. There's also a reporting module that you can purchase that will give you more detailed reports. They do have some very complicated, all the way up to, they can do complete P&Ls for you and generate all the reports that either you or your accountant are going to need to run your business. It just depends on how complex you want to get. The great thing about WooCommerce and WordPress is if the report that you want is not there, you can usually, if you're not a programmer, you can usually find a programmer who can write it for you. I ran across this when I used to run Nomad PHP. They had a lot of good reports, but there were a couple of reports that were very specific to what I was doing that they did not create. And it took me a weekend to generate those reports and get them up there, and then I could just pull them up just like any of the other reports that you look at. So look at what's available currently, then look at what they have available for sale, and as a final one, if you can't get what you need, then you can hire somebody. Or like I said, if you're a programmer, this stuff or WooCommerce is incredibly easy to work with. If you're familiar with PHP and object-oriented PHP, WooCommerce is very well structured code. Okay, Joomla. I have no problem with Joomla. Matter of fact, there for a long time, I lived in a broken household. I am a WordPress person. My wife was a Joomla person. Nowadays, she's a Drupal person. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with Joomla. Joomla has some good e-commerce plugins to use, and you can get Joomla hosted in almost any site that dedicates itself to PHP. Matter of fact, if you want to install it yourself, you can actually run Joomla on SiteGround. It's just not one of the ones that they automate the process for you. Stripe is not available. And Stripe is not available. What is an alternative aside from PayPal? Have you looked at Square? Square started off as in-person, but they have gone into e-commerce solutions also. So you could take a look at that and see how they see if that will work for you. Beyond that, I would just say you need to search around with the search engines and find the ones in your area that most of your customers are already using. You're going to reduce friction for your customers if you select a payment processor that they're already using. You don't want them to have to set up a new account just to do the processing or just to place your order. And that used to be a problem with PayPal. PayPal has since changed that. But in the early days of PayPal, once I sent you to PayPal to take so that they would take your money, then you had to create an account at PayPal instead of just entering your credit card information. And that caused a lot of abandoned orders. Squarespace to WooCommerce. Taiwu, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I am known in the PHP community for absolutely butchering people's names, so I do apologize if I have messed up your name. But she asked, or this person asked, can I migrate from Squarespace to WooCommerce? I believe there are actually plugins that will do that for you. I don't believe they're free. You'll have to purchase them. They usually come with a trial version, and what I would do is go out to SiteGround and set up a test site just like I did here using a temporary domain and run the free version of the plugin that usually will import 10 products and see how well it works. And if it works well, then pay the money, get the full version, and run it on your full-blown copy. Okay. Somehow this sounds like I will be recruited to build an e-store versus product development. I don't think so. Donald, most of what we've done here today in an hour of being together is set up the e-commerce, the basics, and get it up and running. And everybody's going to have to do that. You're either going to have to do that or you're going to have to pay somebody to do it. The beauty about WordPress is it is so low maintenance. These days, WordPress itself will upgrade itself. WordPress will upgrade most of the major plugins for you automatically. It keeps itself maintained. You don't have to do the work. You can focus on the stuff that makes your site special, which is your product development. So it tries to be as unobtrusive as possible and get the work done for you. Yeah, you do have to do some stuff. You're going to have to create the products every now and then. You're going to have to write something or put some pictures up, but that's at it's how much you want to invest in the work. That's how much you have to do. Okay. Already have WordPress with SiteGround using Divi. I want to redesign and add e-commerce. Can I start from scratch on a sandbox? You know, Gary Bestaki? I apologize. That is an excellent question, and I'm going to throw that over to SiteGround and say, would you please ask somebody in support, ask that question support, and get Gary's email and answer him, because I don't know. It sounds like you should be able to. I know that you can set up a temporary domain, create your entire site, and then change the domain name, and it will do everything necessary in WordPress to change the domain name and move it over. But I've not worked directly with migrating Divi to WooCommerce. So you need to ask somebody, but SiteGround, if you would please get his email address, ask support, and have somebody follow up with him. Please define things like SEO and SSL. SEO is search engine optimization. It used to be making sure that your blog post had enough keywords so that the search engine would not only find you, but consider you relevant. These days, the rules are so complex and there's so much AI involved in it that you really can't gamify SEO anymore the way that you used to. And the old rules for SEO are absolutely useless. The new rule for SEO is write content that is relevant to your customers. And if you do that, then the search engines will eventually find you, or your customers will start telling other customers, and you'll spread by word of mouth. And quite honestly, most of the products that I have had that have taken off have been spread by word of mouth much more than anything I've done with online SEO optimization, anything like that. SSL is what we call secure socket layer. What you need to know is right here, I have the little exclamation point. It says not secure. I am not running over an SSL or a secure connection. Anytime you go to a website and it has a little lock here, either a green lock or just a gray lock. A gray lock means that it is a secure connection, but they can't identify who the connection belongs to. Again, with most of my customers being developers, that's not really a problem. A green lock means that the company has paid extra for their certificate, research was done, and the person or the company issuing the certificate has verified that that is who they say they are. So it is a green lock is very important when you're with Facebook or if you're talking to your bank or anything like that. I'm not so sure that it's important for the average small merchant. Having the lock there is usually good enough, because the lock means that everything going across the network is encrypted before it transmits. So it's people can't just sit there and watch the traffic and find passwords or credit card numbers or anything like that. I hope that helps. Okay, we are right. Oh, actually, I'm 1 minute over. Hey, I want to thank you all so much for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this. For those who are watching live, thank you so much for showing up. For those who are watching it online, recorded, appreciate you coming by and listening it. I'm on Twitter at Cal Evans. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, please find me there and ask. I'm always happy to share what I know.
Thanks, Cal, for all the tips and for the great presentation. Expect more on the topic, as Cal mentioned, next month. Since we saw that some complaints about the video stream, I just wanted to let you know that we're recording and we will be able to watch the replay here in Crowdcast just a couple of minutes. And also we will upload it on our YouTube channel. Thanks again for all that came, and we hope to see you at our next month and our next webinar. Have a great rest of the day.